Why intelligence is shaped by what you choose not to say. Imagine this. You're in a conversation. Maybe it's at work, with friends, or with family, and the conversation takes a turn. A moment where you're tempted to react, to speak your mind, to say something that seems so necessary in the heat of the moment. But here's the real question. Are the words you're about to say truly wise? Or could it be one of those phrases that an intelligent person would never utter? Today, we're diving deep into 11 things that intelligent people never say. Not because they're perfect, not because they have all the answers, but because they understand that sometimes wisdom lies in silence. They understand that the power of our words can either uplift us or limit us, shape our futures, or trap us in the past. In this video, we'll explore not only these 11 statements, but also the wisdom behind why we should avoid them. Each of these phrases may seem harmless at first glance, but upon closer inspection, they reflect mindsets that hold us back, whether it's self-doubt, a fixed mindset, or the tendency to limit our potential. As we walk through these ideas together, you'll discover practical examples, real-life stories, and Stoic lessons that show why these common phrases don't serve us, and what you can say or do instead. This isn't just about avoiding negativity, it's about cultivating a mindset of growth, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. So if you're ready to learn how the smartest people in the room navigate their conversations with grace and insight, let's dive into the first phrase that an intelligent person never says. Thing number 1. That's not my job. Let's be honest. How often have you heard someone say, "That's not my job" in the workplace? Maybe it's a coworker, maybe even yourself. It's a phrase that might seem justified at times, especially when you feel overburdened or out of your scope of responsibility. But here's the reality. Intelligent people understand that saying, "That's not my job," is limiting. It cuts off opportunities, both for collaboration and personal growth. When someone says, "That's not my job," what they're really doing is closing themselves off to learning something new or contributing in ways that could benefit both themselves and the team. In Stoicism, we are taught to focus on what we can control and to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. Saying, "That's not my job," ignores this essential wisdom. Think about the workplace. There are countless tasks that fall in the gray area, those tasks that don't strictly belong to anyone. These tasks might be things like tidying up after a meeting, helping a teammate figure out a complex issue, or even contributing to a project that's slightly outside your regular responsibilities. When someone says, "That's not my job," they're not just refusing the task at hand, they're also missing out on the opportunity to show leadership, initiative, and teamwork. Now, picture a scenario where you're asked to help with something outside your typical role. You could easily dismiss it and say, "That's not my job." But an intelligent person sees this as a chance to learn, to show initiative, and to contribute to the bigger picture. Even if it's something as small as helping a colleague with a task they're struggling with, the mindset you bring to that situation reflects your character. It's about taking ownership, not only of your tasks, but of the team's success. In fact, many of the most successful people didn't get where they are by doing the bare minimum. They went above and beyond, took on challenges outside their comfort zone, and expanded their skill sets. When you shift from a mindset of "that's not my job" to "how can I help?", you open doors to unexpected growth and deeper relationships with those around you. Intelligent people understand that being adaptable and versatile is a significant asset. By stepping in when needed, regardless of whose job it is, you cultivate an attitude of leadership and problem-solving that benefits not only the company but also your personal development. The willingness to contribute wherever needed without getting caught up in rigid definitions of responsibility is a mark of emotional intelligence and professional maturity. This doesn't mean you should take on everything indiscriminately and burn yourself out. Intelligent people are also mindful of their boundaries and know how to manage their workload. But they avoid using "that's not my job" as a cop-out or an excuse to avoid contributing. Instead, they assess the situation and ask themselves, is this an opportunity where I can add value? Here's another key perspective. When you step up in situations that may not technically be your job, you're also positioning yourself for future leadership roles. Leaders are the ones who fill gaps, step in when needed, and bring value to the team as a whole, not just in their designated role. Every time you contribute beyond what's required, you're building trust, reputation, and the potential for advancement. And speaking of stepping outside of our comfort zones, let's move on to something that challenges us to look inward. Thing number 2, I'm too old, too young for this. Age is just a number, right? Yet, how often do we hear people say, I'm too old for that, or I'm too young for that? This is another phrase that an intelligent person avoids because they know that age doesn't define their abilities or potential. Whether you're 18 or 80, you're never too old or too young to take on something new, learn a new skill, or follow a new passion. Think about it. When we say we're too old or too young, what we're really doing is placing limits on ourselves. Limits that society may have ingrained in us, but that don't need to exist. Intelligent people understand that growth is possible at any stage of life. They see every stage as an opportunity to expand, to evolve, and to push beyond preconceived boundaries. Consider how many times we've seen people defy age expectations. There are entrepreneurs who started billion-dollar companies in their 60s, and young prodigies who have mastered their craft in their teens. What separates them from the rest? It's not age, but mindset. They didn't let their chronological age dictate what they could or couldn't achieve. Let's look at 2 great examples. Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC, didn't start his now famous franchise until he was in his 60s. Imagine if he had said, I'm too old for this. He would have missed out on creating one of the most recognized brands in the world. On the other hand, Malala Yousafzai, who won the Nobel Peace Prize at just 17, didn't let her age stop her from making a global impact. Both of these individuals chose not to let society's perception of age hold them back. Intelligent people see age as an asset, not a limitation. Whether young or old, they understand that every phase of life brings unique experiences, insights, and skills. Rather than seeing age as a reason to avoid taking risks, they see it as a reason to embrace new challenges. Age provides a different perspective, and intelligent individuals know that their outlook is valuable, no matter their years. We often impose these age limitations on ourselves, when in reality, they're nothing more than mental barriers. Let's take the example of someone wanting to learn a new skill, like picking up a musical instrument or learning a new language. How many times have you heard someone say, I'm too old to start that now? The truth is, it's never too late to start something new. Science even shows that the brain is capable of neuroplasticity well into old age, meaning you can always learn and adapt regardless of how many birthdays you've celebrated. Similarly, the phrase, I'm too young, is another unnecessary restriction. Many young people assume they're not old enough to start a business, take on leadership roles, or pursue significant life changes. But why not? Some of the most successful entrepreneurs and innovators started their ventures while they were still teenagers or in their early 20s. The Stoics would encourage us to recognize that time is fleeting and not to waste any of it thinking we're not ready because of our age. The truth is, if we limit ourselves with thoughts like, I'm too old or I'm too young, we miss out on countless opportunities. The intelligent person knows this and embraces the present moment as the best time to start. After all, it's not our age that defines us, but our willingness to keep growing and learning. Now that we've explored the concept of age, let's look at another phrase that limits us, one that may seem subtle, but has a profound impact on our mindset. Thing number 3, that's not my problem. We've all encountered situations where we've heard someone say, that's not my problem. At first glance, this might sound like a practical response. After all, it's easy to believe that if something doesn't directly affect us, it's not our responsibility. But this phrase reveals a deeper mindset, that goes against the principles of wisdom and connection. Intelligent people understand that this attitude of distancing oneself from problems limits not only empathy, but also growth. To explore why this phrase can be damaging, let's take a look at human relationships and social interaction. In both professional and personal settings, problems rarely exist in isolation. What affects one person or one part of a group often has ripple effects that can impact others. For example, in a workplace setting, if a colleague is struggling with a project and you dismiss it by saying, "That's not my problem," you miss an opportunity to support the team, improve morale, and ultimately ensure collective success. That colleague's problem, if unresolved, may escalate and eventually affect the entire team, including you. By contrast, intelligent individuals approach situations with a more inclusive mindset. They see that we are all interconnected, and what affects one person can in time affect others. Instead of distancing themselves from issues that seem external, they ask themselves, "How can I help?" Or, "What can I contribute to solve this?" This proactive approach not only builds stronger relationships, but also fosters a more resilient and cohesive community. In personal relationships, saying, "That's not my problem," can create distance and alienation. Imagine a family situation where one member is facing financial difficulties. Others might think, "Well, that's not my problem." But this mindset weakens family bonds. An intelligent person, on the other hand, might say, "How can I support them? How can I help in a way that strengthens our relationship and promotes their well-being?" Offering support, even when it's not required, often strengthens ties and fosters trust and loyalty. There's also a deeper principle at play: shared responsibility. The Stoic philosophers, particularly Marcus Aurelius, often spoke about our role in the larger community and the importance of serving others. Aurelius believed that as social creatures, we thrive when we act in ways that benefit the collective. In his meditations, he reminds us that what's good for the hive is good for the bee. This is a profound insight that intelligent individuals live by. They understand that by helping others, they are also helping themselves. The well-being of others, in the end, contributes to our own well-being. This doesn't mean you should take on every problem or be responsible for everyone's struggles. Intelligent people recognize their limits, but they also realize that helping others is often an investment in their own environment. It's about seeing the bigger picture, recognizing that we're all interconnected in ways we may not immediately understand. When you help solve someone else's problem, you might be contributing to a more harmonious and successful environment for everyone, including yourself. The phrase, "That's not my problem," is often an excuse to disengage, but intelligent individuals know that true wisdom comes from engagement. It's about showing up, being present, and contributing to the well-being of others whenever possible. When we dismiss others' problems as irrelevant to us, we isolate ourselves from opportunities to grow, to learn, and to deepen our connections with the people around us. In the long term, approaching life with a sense of shared responsibility fosters stronger relationships, builds trust, and enhances our own sense of purpose. It's a mindset shift from me to we, from isolation to inclusion, and from indifference to empathy. And that shift can make all the difference, both for yourself and for those around you. As we move forward, let's explore another phrase that intelligent people avoid. A phrase that reflects a defeatist mindset, rather than one of growth and resilience. Thing number 4. I give up. I give up. These 3 simple words may seem harmless at first, but they carry with them a heavy weight of resignation and defeat. When someone says, "I give up," they're essentially closing the door on possibility, on perseverance, and on growth. Intelligent individuals understand that while failure is a part of life, giving up should never be the final answer. Let's start by acknowledging that life is full of challenges, setbacks, and roadblocks. Whether in personal endeavors, professional goals, or relationships, we will all face moments when things don't go according to plan. It's natural to feel discouraged, frustrated, or even hopeless at times. But the key difference between those who succeed and those who don't is persistence. the ability to keep going despite difficulties. Consider the stories of some of the world's most successful individuals. Thomas Edison, for example, famously failed thousands of times before finally inventing the light bulb. When asked about his repeated failures, Edison didn't see them as setbacks. Instead, he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." This mindset, one of perseverance and resilience, is what separates those who ultimately succeed from those who give up too soon. Similarly, in the world of sports, athletes often face grueling training sessions, losses, and injuries. But it's the athletes who push through these challenges, who refuse to give up, that rise to the top. Take Michael Jordan, widely regarded as one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team, a setback that could have easily led him to give up on his dream. Instead, he used it as fuel to work harder, to practice more, and to prove himself. His story is a testament to the power of persistence. In Stoicism, the concept of endurance, what the Stoics called fortitudo, is a central tenet. The Stoics believed that while we can't control external events, we can control our inner responses to them. Marcus Aurelius, for example, wrote extensively about the importance of enduring hardship with grace. He believed that challenges were opportunities for growth, and that giving up was never an option for those who sought to live a life of wisdom. When we say, "I give up," we're effectively surrendering our power to circumstances. But intelligent individuals understand that even in the face of adversity, they have the power to persist. Giving up is the easy way out. It's a way to avoid discomfort, frustration, or failure. But in doing so, we miss out on the lessons that come from perseverance. It's important to recognize that persistence doesn't mean stubbornly clinging to a failing strategy. Intelligent people know when to adapt, when to pivot, and when to change their approach. But giving up entirely, saying, "I can't do this," is something they avoid. Instead, they ask themselves, "How can I approach this differently? What can I learn from this experience?" By shifting from a mindset of defeat to one of curiosity, they keep the door open for growth. One of the most powerful lessons we can learn is that failure is not the opposite of success. It's a part of the process. Every setback, every roadblock, is an opportunity to learn, to improve, and to become stronger. By adopting a mindset of persistence, we turn failure into fuel for future success. Think about your own life for a moment. How many times have you been tempted to give up on something because it felt too difficult, too frustrating, or too overwhelming? Now imagine if, instead of giving up, you had pushed through. What might have been possible? What could you have achieved if you had persevered just a little longer? The next time you're faced with a challenge, remember this: giving up is the end of possibility, but persistence is the key to unlocking potential. Intelligent people understand that the road to success is rarely straight or easy. It's filled with twists, turns, and setbacks. But those who persist, who refuse to give up, are the ones who ultimately succeed. As we leave behind the idea of giving up, let's turn our attention to another phrase that limits potential, one that reflects a fixed mindset rather than one of growth. Thing number 5, I'm not good enough. The phrase, "I'm not good enough," is one of the most insidious forms of self-doubt. It's a belief that eats away at confidence, limits potential, and keeps us from pursuing our dreams. But here's the truth. Intelligent people understand that everyone has moments of self-doubt, but they don't allow those thoughts to define them. Let's break this down. When someone says, "I'm not good enough," they're often comparing themselves to others, whether it's in terms of skills, achievements, or personal qualities. But intelligent people know that comparison is the thief of joy. Instead of measuring their worth against others, they focus on their own growth and progress. Consider the world of art, for example. Many of the greatest artists in history struggled with feelings of inadequacy. Vincent van Gogh, now celebrated as one of the most influential artists of all time, spent much of his life feeling like a failure. He sold only a handful of paintings during his lifetime and often doubted his own talent. Yet, despite these feelings, Van Gogh continued to paint, to create, and to push himself artistically. He didn't allow his self-doubt to stop him from expressing his creativity. This story teaches us that feelings of inadequacy are normal, but they don't have to be limiting. Intelligent people recognize that self-doubt is a natural part of the human experience, but they also know that it's not the full story. Instead of saying, "I'm not good enough," they reframe the thought to, "I'm growing," or "I'm learning." They understand that no one is born knowing everything or being perfect at every skill. It's through practice, perseverance, and a willingness to learn that we improve. In the workplace, for example, you might feel overwhelmed when starting a new job or project. It's easy to think, "I'm not good enough for this." But intelligent individuals recognize that feeling out of their depth is part of the learning curve. Instead of focusing on what they don't know, they focus on what they can learn. They ask questions, seek feedback, and embrace the process of growth. In Stoicism, this concept of growth is central. The Stoics believed that we are all works in progress, constantly evolving and improving. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, often wrote about the importance of self-improvement and the idea that no one is ever truly finished. We are all, in a sense, apprentices in the school of life, constantly learning and refining our skills. When intelligent people face moments of self-doubt, they don't let those thoughts hold them back. Instead, they see them as an invitation to grow. They understand that the journey of life is not about being perfect. It's about striving to be better each day. Let's leave behind the limiting belief of not being good enough and shift our focus to another mindset that intelligent people avoid, a mindset rooted in negativity and defeat. Thing number 6, it's impossible. When you hear someone say it's impossible, what they're really expressing is a limit they've placed on themselves or the situation. But here's a key difference between those who are stuck in limiting beliefs and those who are intelligent and wise. Intelligent people don't say it's impossible. Instead, they ask, "How can it be done?" Or "What can I do to make this happen?" The truth is, throughout history, countless things once deemed impossible have later become reality. Think about the world-changing inventions we take for granted today. The airplane, the internet, space travel. At one point in history, all of these ideas seemed impossible. But it wasn't the people who said it can't be done that moved humanity forward. It was the dreamers, the visionaries, and the persistent individuals who refused to accept limits. One prime example is Thomas Edison, who, as I mentioned earlier, faced countless failures on his path to creating the light bulb. Imagine if Edison had said, "It's impossible." We might still be lighting our homes with candles. But Edison didn't see failure as a sign that something was impossible. Instead, he saw each failed attempt as a stepping stone toward success. He famously remarked, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." The lesson here is that intelligent people reject the notion of impossibility. They understand that obstacles are not dead ends, they are challenges to be overcome. When someone says it's impossible, they're giving up before they've even tried. But intelligent people, when faced with difficult situations, see them as puzzles to be solved. They remain open to creative solutions, to collaboration, and to innovation. The Stoic philosophy offers us valuable insight here as well. Stoicism teaches that while we may not always control external circumstances, we can control our perceptions of those circumstances. In other words, whether something seems impossible is often a matter of perspective. If you believe something is impossible, you'll never try. But if you shift your mindset to "this is a challenge I can tackle," you immediately open the door to possibility. Take, for instance, the story of the Wright brothers. Before they successfully built the first powered airplane, many experts in their time believed human flight was impossible. But the Wright brothers didn't let that stop them. They had a vision, and they were willing to work tirelessly to make it a reality. They experimented, failed, and tried again until they achieved what was once thought to be impossible. Their story is a testament to the power of perseverance and an unwavering belief in possibility. In your own life, how many times have you dismissed a goal or a dream because it seemed impossible? Maybe you've wanted to change careers, start a business, or pursue a creative passion, but the obstacles seem too great. Intelligent people don't let those obstacles define their limits. They recognize that even the most daunting challenges can be overcome with the right mindset, strategy, and effort. And here's the thing. When you decide that something is possible, even if it seems difficult, you start to notice opportunities and solutions that you might have overlooked before. The brain is wired to seek out solutions when it believes that success is achievable. So when you tell yourself this can be done, you're priming your mind to find a way forward. Of course, not every goal is easily achievable, and there will be times when things don't work out the way you planned. But intelligent people know that the pursuit of a goal, even if it doesn't turn out exactly as expected, always brings valuable lessons and growth. The journey itself is often just as important as the destination. Speaking of limitations, let's now move on to another phrase that intelligent people avoid, one that reflects a rigid mindset and keeps us from exploring new perspectives and possibilities. Thing number 7. I already know that. At first glance, this phrase might not seem as limiting as others, but saying, I already know that can shut the door to new learning and growth. Intelligent individuals understand that no matter how much they know, there's always more to learn. The moment we believe we know everything, we stop growing, and when we stop growing, we stop improving. Consider the concept of the beginner's mind, a principle often discussed in both Stoicism and Zen philosophy. The beginner's mind is the mindset of approaching every situation as if you're seeing it for the first time, with curiosity, openness, and a willingness to learn. When you say, I already know that, you're closing yourself off from this valuable mindset. You might miss out on deeper insights or perspectives that could enhance your understanding of something you think you already know. For example, let's say you've been working in your field for many years. You've gained expertise and confidence, and now you're attending a training or seminar. You hear something that sounds familiar, and your immediate reaction is to tune out and think, I already know that. But here's the thing. Even if the concept is familiar, there's always something new to learn. Whether it's a fresh perspective, a nuance you hadn't considered, or a practical application you hadn't thought of before. Intelligent people maintain a sense of humility when it comes to their knowledge. They recognize that true wisdom comes from acknowledging that there's always more to learn. Socrates, one of the great philosophers, famously said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." This doesn't mean that you literally know nothing, but rather it's a reminder to remain humble and open-minded in your pursuit of knowledge. In a world that's constantly evolving, new ideas, discoveries, and technologies emerge every day. If we believe we've already learned everything there is to know, we risk falling behind or missing out on new opportunities. Intelligent people keep their minds open to learning, whether it's from a book, a mentor, a colleague, or even from their own mistakes. It's also important to recognize that learning isn't just about acquiring new information. It's also about deepening your understanding of what you already know. Even if you're revisiting a familiar concept, you can often uncover new layers of meaning or application. For instance, someone who's been practicing Stoicism for years might revisit the teachings of Marcus Aurelius and discover new insights that resonate with them in a different way, simply because they're at a different stage in their life. The phrase, "I already know that," can also hinder relationships and communication. If someone is sharing their thoughts or ideas with you, and your response is, "I already know that," it can come across as dismissive. Intelligent people understand the value of active listening, even if the information seems familiar. By engaging fully in the conversation, you not only show respect for the other person, but also open yourself up to hearing something you might not have considered. In many ways, saying "I already know that" is a form of intellectual laziness. It's a way of shutting down rather than remaining engaged. But the most intelligent and successful people are lifelong learners. They approach each day with curiosity, asking, "What can I learn today?" They understand that growth is a never-ending journey, and they welcome every opportunity to expand their knowledge. As we move forward, let's turn our attention to another phrase that intelligent people avoid, a phrase that reflects an avoidance of responsibility and limits personal growth. Thing number 8, it's not my fault. When things go wrong, it's natural to want to distance ourselves from blame. After all, admitting fault can be uncomfortable, even painful. But saying, "It's not my fault," is a phrase that intelligent people tend to avoid. Why? Because it shifts responsibility away from themselves and prevents them from learning from the situation. Here's the reality: mistakes happen. Projects fail, relationships go through rough patches, and sometimes life doesn't go as planned. While it might be tempting to point fingers or deflect blame, intelligent people know that taking ownership of their role in any given situation is key to personal growth and improvement. Let's consider a work scenario. Suppose you're part of a team working on an important project, and things don't go as expected. Maybe deadlines were missed, or the final result didn't meet expectations. In this situation, it would be easy to say, "Well, that's not my fault. It was because of someone else's mistake." But here's the problem with that mindset. By focusing solely on what others did wrong, you miss out on the opportunity to reflect on your own actions and how you could have contributed differently. Intelligent people understand that personal growth comes from accountability. Even if the situation wasn't entirely their fault, they ask themselves, "What could I have done differently?" Or, "How can I learn from this?" By taking ownership, they position themselves to grow and improve in the future. Accountability also fosters trust and respect in relationships, both personal and professional. When you're willing to admit fault or acknowledge your role in a situation, you demonstrate integrity and maturity. People respect those who can own up to their mistakes and work toward a solution. On the other hand, deflecting blame or refusing to take responsibility erodes trust and weakens relationships. In Stoic philosophy, the concept of personal responsibility is fundamental. The Stoics believe that while we cannot control external events, we can control our responses to them. This includes taking responsibility for our actions, even when things don't go as planned. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that we should focus on what is within our control, our own thoughts, actions, and reactions. By doing so, we empower ourselves to navigate life's challenges with wisdom and resilience. Saying "it's not my fault" is often a way of avoiding discomfort. But intelligent people know that true growth comes from facing discomfort head-on. They embrace the idea that mistakes and failures are valuable learning experiences. Instead of focusing on who's to blame, they focus on what they can learn and how they can improve. This mindset shift is crucial not only for personal growth, but also for professional success. In the business world, leaders who take responsibility for their team's performance are often more respected and effective than those who shift blame. When things go wrong, intelligent leaders step up and say, "This didn't go as planned, but here's what we're going to do to fix it." They don't waste time pointing fingers. Instead, they focus on solutions. Now, let's move on to another mindset that intelligent people avoid, a mindset that limits potential and keeps us stuck in a state of inaction. Thing number 9, that's just the way I am. The phrase, "that's just the way I am," is often used to justify behavior or attitudes that people are unwilling to change. It's a statement that can come across as inflexible or even defeatist. Intelligent individuals, however, understand that personal growth is a lifelong journey, and clinging to the idea that change is impossible limits both personal and professional development. When someone says, "That's just the way I am," what they're really doing is closing themselves off to growth. They're saying, "I'm done evolving," which contradicts one of the key components of intelligence, the ability to adapt and improve. It's natural for us as humans to have habits, tendencies, and characteristics that have developed over time. But intelligent people recognize that just because something is ingrained doesn't mean it's permanent. Consider how this phrase might play out in relationships or at work. Let's say someone has a habit of being overly critical of others, and when confronted, they respond with, "That's just the way I am. I've always been like that." This kind of mindset prevents the person from reflecting on their behavior and considering how it might be affecting others. It creates a barrier to improvement, both in personal relationships and in the workplace. In contrast, intelligent people understand that self-awareness is key to growth. They constantly assess their own behavior and attitudes, asking questions like, "How can I improve?" Or, "What can I do differently to be better for myself and those around me?" They see personal development not as a destination but as a journey where change is always possible. Stoicism offers valuable lessons in this regard. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us that while external circumstances may be beyond our control, we have full authority over our inner selves. This includes our attitudes, habits, and reactions to life's challenges. The belief that "this is just the way I am" is contrary to the Stoic principle that we can and should strive for self-mastery. Think about it. How many times have you heard someone use this phrase to justify negative behavior? Whether it's a bad temper, procrastination, or a lack of empathy, the phrase, "that's just the way I am," is often used as an excuse for avoiding the hard work of personal growth. But intelligent people don't let themselves off the hook that easily. They know that change is difficult, but it's also essential for reaching their highest potential. In fact, the most intelligent individuals actively seek out opportunities to grow and change. They welcome feedback, even when it's uncomfortable, because they know it offers insights into areas where they can improve. They understand that personal growth requires introspection and the courage to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves. Rather than saying, "That's just the way I am," they say, "How can I become a better version of myself?" Change isn't easy. It often requires us to step outside of our comfort zones and challenge deeply held beliefs or habits. But here's the thing. Just because something has been true in the past doesn't mean it has to define your future. Intelligent people embrace this idea. They know that who they are today doesn't have to be who they are tomorrow. With effort, discipline, and reflection, anyone can change. And for the better. Instead of seeing personal traits as fixed, intelligent people view them as malleable. They understand that change is a natural part of life, and that by remaining open to growth, they can continue to evolve and improve, both mentally and emotionally. Let's shift now to another common mindset that limits growth and potential: the idea that we shouldn't take risks. Thing number 10, it's too risky. Intelligent people understand that life, by its very nature, involves risk. Every decision we make, big or small, carries some level of uncertainty. The idea of "it's too risky" often stems from a fear of failure or discomfort. But here's the thing. Avoiding risk altogether can keep us from some of life's greatest opportunities. It's not that intelligent people are reckless. Rather, they assess risk thoughtfully and are willing to take calculated risks when the potential rewards are worth it. Let's look at some examples. Imagine if historical figures like Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, or Oprah Winfrey had said, "It's too risky." The world might never have seen the rise of Apple, SpaceX, or the Oprah Winfrey Network. These individuals didn't achieve their success by playing it safe. They took risks, but they did so strategically, after careful consideration. The Stoics would remind us that we cannot control the outcome of our efforts, but we can control the effort we put in and the attitude we bring to the process. This is the essence of taking calculated risks. When intelligent people face a potentially risky decision, they don't dismiss it outright. Instead, they gather information, weigh the pros and cons, and then make a decision based on rational analysis, not fear. Consider this. Every major advancement in science, technology, and culture has involved some degree of risk. The Wright brothers took enormous risks when they set out to achieve human flight. Could they have failed? Absolutely. But they chose to take that risk because they believed in their vision. And even though they faced setbacks, they persisted because they understood that taking risks is often the only way to achieve something truly great. In your own life, think about the times you've avoided a risk because it felt too scary or uncertain. Maybe you didn't apply for a job you wanted because you were afraid you wouldn't get it. Or perhaps you hesitated to start a new project because the outcome wasn't guaranteed. Intelligent people recognize that while risk is uncomfortable, it's also necessary for growth and achievement. There's a famous quote by Theodore Roosevelt that speaks to this point. It is not the critic who counts. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, but who does actually strive to do the deeds. This quote reminds us that it's the people who are willing to take risks, who are in the arena, who make the biggest impact. Intelligent people know that playing it safe all the time leads to mediocrity. It keeps you in your comfort zone where growth is limited. But by taking risks, calculated, thoughtful risks, you open yourself up to new opportunities, new experiences, and new levels of success. Of course, not every risk will pay off. There will be failures, and that's okay. Intelligent people understand that failure is a part of the process. They don't let the fear of failure paralyze them. Instead, they see failure as a learning opportunity. When something doesn't go as planned, they reflect on what went wrong, learn from the experience, and use that knowledge to improve their future decisions. The key takeaway here is that intelligent people embrace risk, but they do so mindfully. They don't leap into the unknown without preparation, but they also don't let fear of the unknown stop them from pursuing their goals. They find a balance between caution and courage, knowing that sometimes the greatest rewards come from stepping outside of their comfort zone. As we wrap up, let's explore the final phrase that intelligent people avoid, one that speaks to a mindset of resignation rather than empowerment. Thing number 11, there's nothing I can do about it. The phrase, "there's nothing I can do about it," reflects a sense of helplessness and resignation. It's a mindset that intelligent people actively avoid because it strips them of their power to take action. Intelligent people understand that while there are many things in life beyond their control, there is always something they can do, if not to change the situation, then to change how they respond to it. One of the fundamental teachings of Stoicism is the concept of control. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This philosophy teaches that while external events may be beyond our influence, we always have control over our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. Intelligent people embrace this idea wholeheartedly. When faced with a difficult situation, whether it's a personal challenge, a setback at work, or a global crisis, intelligent individuals don't throw up their hands and say, "There's nothing I can do." Instead, they ask themselves, "What can I do in this situation?" Or, "How can I approach this in a way that aligns with my values and goals?" Take the example of Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. Despite enduring unimaginable suffering during his time in concentration camps, Frankl found meaning in his experience by focusing on the one thing he could control: his attitude. In his book Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." Frankl's story is a powerful reminder that even in the face of extreme adversity, we still have the power to choose how we respond. In more everyday scenarios, intelligent people apply the same principle. Let's say you're facing a challenging situation at work, and it feels like everything is outside your control. You might be tempted to say, "There's nothing I can do." But intelligent people don't stop there. They dig deeper and ask, what small steps can I take to improve this situation? It could be something as simple as adjusting your mindset, seeking out advice from a mentor, or finding new ways to approach the problem. This mindset shift from resignation to empowerment is what sets intelligent people apart. They recognize that while they may not be able to control every aspect of a situation, they always have control over their response. This gives them a sense of agency and purpose, even in the most difficult circumstances. In essence, intelligent people understand that giving up is never the answer. There's always something that can be done, even if it's as simple as changing your perspective. They don't let themselves be victims of circumstance. Instead, they become active participants in shaping their reality, taking ownership of their actions and their mindset. Final thoughts in conclusion. And there you have it. 11 things an intelligent person never says. As we've explored, these phrases reflect limiting mindsets that can hold us back from personal growth, professional success, and meaningful relationships. By avoiding these common pitfalls, you can cultivate a more empowered, thoughtful, and intentional approach to life. Remember, intelligence isn't just about what you know, it's about how you think, how you approach challenges, and how you interact with the world around you. The words we choose to use, whether spoken out loud or in our internal dialogue, can shape our reality in profound ways. By being mindful of the phrases we avoid, we can become more resilient, more adaptable, and more capable of living a life of purpose and wisdom. As you move forward, I encourage you to reflect on these lessons and think about how they apply to your own life. Are there any phrases you find yourself saying that might be limiting your growth? How can you adopt a more intelligent, stoic mindset in your daily life? Thank you for watching, and I hope these insights inspire you to live with greater intention, mindfulness, and wisdom. Remember, the journey of self-improvement is ongoing, and with each step, we move closer to becoming the best versions of ourselves.